Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new quarantine-inspired show called Hangin with Herb. It's a time where we'll hang out and have candid conversations with some of my valued friends. And today I'd love to welcome a good friend who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Relationship Officer at Family Legacy. I'd love to welcome my good friend, Holly Scurry. How are you today?
Oh my goodness, I'm so blessed. I have to say, I've been loving the quarantine time because I've had
Uh,
more time with Jesus than ever before, and life was too full. And now it's just kind of gone back to, I think, how He intended it to be. So I'm truly blessed to be able to be on this call with you. You're just full of energy and have the biggest heart for Jesus. And so,
well,
anyway, it's great.
thank you so much. Let's get started. Let's talk about us, how we met. I remember back in 2014, when John Brooks led a group of students from Faith Christian School, and we came and done some work there at a Tree of Life Orphanage. And talk a little bit about that time if you remember.
Oh, of course. Well, I have been so blessed to have been going to Zambia. I helped co-found Family Legacy 17 years ago when it
Wow.
was just an idea. I was a bright-eyed little 21-year-old college grad and wanted to change the world. And God so sovereignly and beautifully orchestrated my path and directed my steps and led me to join with Family Legacy in the very beginning. And over the years, I could tell you so many stories about how it grew, but and what God did along the way to get us to where we are now. But one of the facets, the many facets that we have at Family Legacy is our Tree of Life Children's Village. And it started with one little girl, my little girl named Lahima, who I met on my very first trip back in 2003. And she had tragically passed away from HIV and AIDS, and I could tell you the whole story. But anyway, the long and short of it is that she passed away and she shouldn't have. And, or, from our earthly perspective, she shouldn't have. God had bigger plans in store for her legacy. But in my anguish of losing that child, I felt very heavily pressed on my heart to raise money in her memory to build a home so that other little girls and boys wouldn't have to suffer the same consequences. And so back in 2009, we opened our very first house at the Tree of Life Children's Village. And over the years, it's grown. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary. Today, we have 64 homes and 742 children who live there full time. And it is truly heaven on earth. Like, I love that place. It's my favorite place in the whole world. I am convinced, Herb, that God looks down from heaven and He's looking across the whole globe, and there's this bright light just shining up from that little 200-acre piece of property with all those blessed little children. They're kids, who likely wouldn't be alive otherwise. They've
Right.
been, double orphans, single orphans, serial orphans. We can talk about more about that, but honestly, it's just incredible. And so when I met you, y'all had come over on a trip. I believe it was for Dream Camp, and we
It
had
was
that.
no, it was summer, but we came over uh, when you had your summer break, and
That's
so
right.
we helped do a lot of inventory and checking, and we just did a whole lot of stuff and just loved the time that we spent with the kids. Oh my gosh. We'd walk around at night by the houses and just hear them worshiping and singing and praying. And we walked into a house of boys that were praying, and they never even knew we came in or came out. They were
Yeah.
just into it. I mean, wow. So it was quite an experience. Tell me a little bit then. Talk a little bit about yourself. Give me, what your birth city, your high school, your college, and then to where you are now.
Sure. Well, I'll give you a quick snapshot of how God got me here. I was born in Dallas, Texas, and to a wonderful, wonderful mom who just loves the Lord and has been an educator like yourself for
Okay.
35 years. And she's taught children to read. She's a librarian.
Okay.
And but I was born in Dallas and grew up. I went to Lake Highlands. Well, I went to all the little elementaries there, and the White Rock Elementary, and then Lake Highlands High School. I graduated in '99 and went to Texas A&M and loved my time at A&M. And that was really when God started planting seeds for me to do mission work with my life. And there's a whole story in all of that, Herb. So I don't know how much you want to know, but or how much you want me to share, but yeah.
Now, and then how did you get to Family Legacy? Just kind of tell that a little bit.
Sure. Well, I would say the reason I felt called to go to Family Legacy, which it is a calling.
Yeah.
I was born into a very privileged family here in Dallas. But when I was 6 years old, my dad left, and when he left, he took all his money. And so we actually had a pretty hard childhood, and we knew what it was like sometimes to be hungry, and we knew what it was like to have the electricity go out, and not to have all the right clothes that all the other kids had. And so we really felt in many ways, very stigmatized as children, and we just didn't really fit into the society that we were born into. So there was a lot of stigma attached to that, and there's a long story behind it. I ended up babysitting to help pay some of the bills when I was 10, and started working pretty regularly, actually, all throughout my childhood, probably 5, 6, 7 nights a week, honestly. And in a way, I had to grow up way too fast. And but when I was 14, I ended up getting a scholarship to go to a Christian camp. It was Young Life Camp, and in a nutshell, there's a longer story behind it, but God supernaturally allowed that to happen. And on that trip, I met Jesus, of course, and I came to know that God was not just a big guy up in the sky that you pray, God is great, God is good, let us thank him for our food, amen.
Right.
He went from that to being actually a very personal father in my life. And when I learned that he was my daddy, that's what completely changed things for me. And so my life just kind of did a 180 at that point. I started going from thinking, oh, the whole world is judging me and against me, to actually I'm a royal daughter of the King of Kings, and I am special. I'm worthy. I'm a co-heir with Christ. I'm his beloved treasure. And so those truths really started sinking in deep with me. I started writing in my journal and praying to God, just talking to God, telling him everything about my life. And when I graduated from high school, there's a longer story again behind it, but I ended up getting a full scholarship to go to college. I had asked my dad if he would help me go, and I tried really hard, Herb. I used to ride the public bus to school to go to all the help sessions early in the morning, and I made great grades. I wasn't the most naturally intelligent kid at school at all, but I just had that persevering spirit. And when I graduated, I was in the top 5% of my class, and I asked my dad. I was like, Dad, can you help? Send me to A&M. He could have written the whole check with one stroke of his pen, and but he didn't. He, was like, it's a tough world out there, Holly. You have to figure it out yourself. And at that point, I was so in love with Jesus, because God had become my real father. I was like, well, that's okay. God's going to take care of me anyway. And so instead of being crushed, I was actually thinking, well, okay, let me look to my true source. And the Lord supernaturally provided a full scholarship for me to go to Texas A&M. I got paid to go to college in the end.
Wow.
And through that, I just began to fly. I began to spread my wings and fly. And a family that I used to babysit for introduced me to Pine Cove. And I went to Pine Cove in the summers and saw this incredible family ministry, a camping ministry with ministering to families. And it was there that I actually met the Kendall family, Greer and Susan Kendall, who had their little daughter, Kaylee, when she was 1, in my baby class. And Greer had been born in Zambia to Southern Baptist missionary parents, and he had floated this idea. He's like, Holly, we could, or Dippin' Dots is my camp name. He's like, we could do Pine Cove in Zambia. There's all these orphans in Zambia. I mean, wouldn't that be cool? Like, we could just take this and bring families. Instead of ministering to the families, we could have the families become the counselors. And so, that really sunk in deep with me. And this conversation actually happened at their home over Christmas. One time when I was home it was my senior year in college, and I was home for Christmas break and had gone just to visit with them and fellowship with them and have dinner over there in Coppell. And I thought, I was real adventurous at the time, Herb. I
Yeah,
really had kind of that, like, okay, I can do anything and let me fly. And so the idea of starting a nonprofit, as a 21-year-old, I was just ready to go and take it on. And I tell you, so I joined on as the first employee and really as a co-founder with Greer, to just build and build and build this ministry. And I've seen all along the way, the Lord prepared me in my childhood. I
your
mean, He knew
childhood.
this before I was even born, how my life would play out. And
Yes.
because, by the world standards, I should have been just like all my cousins, and going to Hockaday and, going to, Vanderbilt and Princeton. And that did not happen. God had so much better plans for me
Absolutely.
than
Beautiful
what
plan.
I thought. Yeah. And so anyway, the ministry
Awesome.
now has just grown. I don't know how much your audience knows about Family Legacy, but what started as a 1-week day camp has now grown into a dynamic, multifaceted ministry that is radically transforming thousands upon thousands of lives, both here and across the globe. And so I'll get into it more as you
Awesome.
desire. But
Awesome. Well, I've got a number of, I've got some pictures I'll pop up and we'll talk about. But let's start with this special relationship that I noticed uh, on one of the trips. I've been there 3 times now. But one of the trips that I was there, I actually saw you, the relationship you had with the little girl named Ruthie. And I have a picture of Ruthie, and you got to be, well, those of you who don't want to look at this picture, it's kind of a tough picture to look at, but I think that it should be shared. And this is Ruthie.
Sweet one. Oh, I love her.
And tell a little bit about Ruthie.
Sure. So I remember it vividly. I met this precious one in 2015. So Herb, so you came with Faith Christian School, like in the middle of our Camp Life program. And every summer we have 700 Americans come over for a 7-week camp program called Camp Life. And we've got 100 Americans a week, um, 7 weeks in a row. And so over the course of the summer, we'll have 7,000 vulnerable and orphan children come through our doors at Camp Life. And it is just incredible. It is like over the top experience, like vacation Bible school, like none other. And um, we have American families that travel together to come over there. And on Thursdays, at the beginning of the week, we're just getting to know the children, loving on them, speaking life into them. We've got big group sessions, one-on-one sessions. But throughout the course of the week, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with them, and we show them who He is by using an evangelical. We speak it, we show it, we teach it, preach it, pray it, all of it. And throughout the course of the week, they're learning about who Jesus is. And on Thursdays, every day, we actually say, okay, kids, now that you know who He is and He lives inside of your heart, let's go practice sharing His love with someone else. And what we do is we take them from having kind of um, a poor me attitude, like I have nothing to give, I'm worthless, to, hey, I'm someone, right? Like it's that identity in Christ that I found when I was 14. I'm someone, I am a child of the King, and I can give His love to other people. And so we take them out into the communities where they live. They're like slum communities, but we say, okay, kids, it's your turn to go share Jesus. And so that particular Thursday that I met Ruth was with a group. I was actually with Greg Mott. He's the senior pastor of First Baptist Church in Houston, and his wife. I was with his wife and daughter, and their little group of 10 girls. We were in a compound called Chayenda, and they were on the way. Like we all had our little t-shirts on and bandanas, and they had their evangelicals, and they were sharing the gospel with people. And I was honestly just tagging along in the back. But we had about 40 people all together with our groups. And you know, we were walking through these little narrow mud pathways, water and just just flies and trying to kind of scoot around. We're trying to get to one of the girls' homes just so we could meet her caretakers. And I was at the very back, and all of a sudden everybody's like in a big hurry. And I looked down and spotted this little child. And at first I didn't know if the little one was a boy or a girl. And I looked down, and I mean, just this horrid scab was covering, it was a little girl, covering her little head. I mean, probably 25 flies on this child, and no shirt, dirt all over her back, just the most hopeless, blank stare. I mean, she looked to be about 4-ish. And she was sitting there all by herself. And I mean, I was like, stop the train, guys. Hey, hey, come back, and I called everybody back. I picked her up, and I started kind of asking around, does anyone know where this child's mother is? Does she have a mother? And bless her heart, it took us about 25 minutes or so to locate the mom. She came staggering around from some other corner. Her eyes were all swollen, beet red. She was pregnant with, I think, her 8th child. Turns out her mom's a prostitute, and that's all she had ever known as a way to make money to feed her children, and just kept obviously getting pregnant with more children. But her kids all had different fathers, and who knows where the rest of them were. I mean, Ruthie was really all by herself, and of course the scab was just. I'm shocked she was even alive. I mean, and so I took her back to the main school, one of our schools. We've got 26 private Christian schools all over the capital city of Lusaka to educate these kids once they come to Camp Life. And currently we have 15,000 children almost in our program. And so it's just incredible what God is doing through that program. But I took her back, and I called our doctor immediately on the phone, and I said, Dr. Brad, I've got a little girl. We've got to help her. Brad and I are a great tag team, because I find like the neediest, most vulnerable kids. I'm like, okay, Brad, don't help. And of course, God is our great physician. He is.
Yes, yes.
And so wonderful. And we prayed. I remember praying over her, praying for her mother. But yeah, we called Brad, and I said, Brad, can we get her in? He made a few phone calls, and by the end of the week, we had that child in our full-time care at the Tree of Life Children's Village, and he went to work right away on her. I mean, was working on her scab, the big scar. Turns out when she was a little baby, she had been in a fire. She'd gotten burned. And I don't know if y'all looked at that picture long enough, but her little hand had been bent backwards. Her fingers were burned off. Her ear had been burned. Her little eyebrows were stretched upwards because her head was all burned. And it was just tragic what this little one had lived through as a baby. And they don't have hospitals like we do, and they don't have access to even get to those hospitals. So what they do, they took her to a witch doctor when she was out of the fire, and the witch doctor told her to grind up tortoise shell and put the tortoise shell bone on the girl's scar. Yeah, it was just no telling what diseases had gotten into her body. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to me that she was even alive. But we ended up getting custody of her very quickly. The mom was like, "Yep, take her." She didn't want her. In her mind, she's another mouth to feed, and she was really actually an embarrassment to her because of her, horrid scar. And so we took little Ruthie Roo to the Tree of Life Children's Village and put her in a home called Treasure House, because she is treasured by our King. And it was just incredible. She's come alive, her little spirit. Oh yeah, here she is. Oh, so precious. So that picture in the middle, that was just a few months after we'd gotten her. We'd done a skin graft, we'd gotten surgery on her head. She was as happy as she could be. She's literally just my little angel on earth. But the pictures on the left with the crown, she was still coming back alive again, just learning what love looked like for the very first time. And that crown of flowers is really symbolic of Isaiah 61. He gives us a crown of beauty instead of ashes. And really, I found Ruth in the ashes, and now she has a crown. She's adorned with the crown of beauty, and she is such a little love. Thank you for showing those.
Welcome. I also happened to be there one time during Dream Camp, and in the beginning, you guys sing and do all kinds of fun things with all the kids. And I actually captured a video of you and her.
Oh,
Yeah, and I wanna show that to the people because that was such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time. Let's,
you just keep blessing me, Herb. This is fun. This is so fun.
can you see that?
I cannot see it.
Okay. Well, let's see. Can we get it to you? Because it is such a great. All right, let's go. It's right here.
You're a great storyteller, Herb. I love how you paint such a beautiful.
I wanted to show this because this shows the many kids that are there, the Americans that are there, involved with the kids, dancing and singing and getting them involved. It's a great, great. I was just amazed just being a part of it.
Oh, praise the Lord.
And I just happened to be videoing when this all came to happen. So it'll happen here shortly. But this is beautiful. Just a lot of the kids. There you are.
I can't see the video yet, but
oh, you can't see the video yet? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to
but if
try to
it's
share it. Hold on. I'm trying to. I thought I had it.
You know what I think about you, Herb, is I think you really might be an angel because you just happen to be in the right place at the right time all the time.
Can you see it yet?
No.
I thought we had it where it would show, but it's not. So
well, it's okay. Now it's spinning. It's like wanting to. I can
no?
see that you clicked on the little icon. I can see that.
Okay, so I'm going to stop that. Where is it?
Maybe you can email it to me later.
Will. I'll definitely email it to you.
Thank you.
Because it's a beautiful rendition of all the kids and everybody out there having a great time. So let's talk a little bit now about my girls.
Yes, let's do that.
The Ganny girls, who back in 2014 when I came, it was such a fun experience just meeting all the kids. Somehow, I got connected to a few of the Ganny girls. And, we started talking, and I had my iPad. I used to always carry my iPad everywhere.
Yeah.
So I would show them pictures of my family, and then they want to see more pictures and more pictures and more pictures, and then they invited me over to the house, and then we had dinner. They made dinner, and I said, and we just did all kinds of fun things together, talking. I took them, and anyway, I'll show some pictures, and we'll talk.
Please do. They're precious girls. I love those Ganny's girls. I love all the kids over there, but yeah, they all just have different personalities, and
they do. They just somehow captured my heart. They really did, and have been a part. You know, that great part. I don't know. I just fell in love with them. I'm trying to find a way to make that happen, and it's not happening. So let's talk about, while I'm trying to figure that out, talk about the Ganny Girl home and how that came to be.
Sure. Well, what's so neat about the Tree of Life Children's Village is that the homes have all been built by different families who've come over to Camp Life. They've been introduced to Family Legacy, and they come home with really, God gives them a vision for how they can be involved long term with Family Legacy once they get home. And many of the homes have been fundraised for by students, that just come together and want to build a home, and name it Mercy House or Grace House or, just anything like that. And then other people come home and think, oh my goodness, I loved so and so in my life, and they're not here anymore. And I would like to build and help create a legacy in their memory. And so Ganny's house was actually built by a Camp Life family. They've been coming for years and years, really since I think probably '09 or maybe or 2010, 2011 probably. And their mother, they called her Ganny, and they wanted to create a legacy in her memory. And so they actually just donated the money in her memory so that we could build a home. And Ganny's house was for older girls. We've got like Tree of Life homes for the younger children. And then when the kids get to be like, in their teen years, they don't really want to have little babies running around. So we upgrade them and put them at a Life Vision home. And so Ganny's is one of our Life Vision homes for the older girls. And they all just get together. It's kind of like a little pre-college dorm, room type, although it's a home, it's a real home. And they bake, they all have chores and everything. Oh my goodness, here they are. How precious.
So this is when I first met them. This is all 8 of the girls that were there.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
you have Faustina, Queen, you have Hope, Rachel. Back then you had Blessing, who's not in
Yes.
the house anymore. You got Naomi, Natasha, and Bridget. And I
So
just
precious.
love those girls. We still, to this day, keep in touch. We have a messenger page and a WhatsApp page, group page that we constantly are talking back and forth, along with my wife, and that we have it's like a family. It's like our family.
They love that. I can't even tell you how big of a ministry that is to them, like just to know there's people on the other side of the world who consider them family.
Right, right.
Zambians are so relationally oriented. It's just how they're built and wired. And, to know, even though many of them have lost their fathers and their mothers and have grown up, prior to coming to the Tree of Life, really without a family, like Bridget has no known relatives, no known relatives. Like
Wow,
the Tree of Life became her family.
wow.
And so
So
it's
we,
just neat to see these special relationships that God forms and kind of fills those gaps and holes for them. And he gets all the glory. Oh, this is so neat. I love these
so this is
pictures.
when we went to the school and done some work there. There's Pastor John Brooks there, and then we just were working and cleaning and painting and just having a great time. And all the girls I saw happen to see when they're there. And the middle picture, the top middle picture, the guy in the plaid shirt, you know who that is?
Is that you?
No, that's Ernest.
Ernest. Oh, I love
Ernest,
Ernest.
who is here in Tyler at
How fabulous.
University of Tyler now.
Oh my goodness. God is so faithful. It's just
Isn't he?
amazing.
Isn't he? I'm gonna keep going. We got some more here. So this is when I went to their house, and I went back the second time. This time, Blessing was not there anymore. Ruth was at it, and
Oh, I love Ruth.
so I made my thing is, as you can probably see, is pictures, and so I do scrapbooks. I probably have over 200 scrapbooks that I've made,
You are
and
so dear,
so
Herb.
I
You are.
made them a scrapbook to have in the house, and so I brought it back to them. Then there are pictures of when I was there the first time, and brought them a little gift, and we just had a great time. The bottom you can see they made a dinner for us, and we
Wow.
sat down and had dinner together.
Can
One,
we clone you? I mean, you are just such a light.
oh,
I just would love to have,
no,
herbs all over the place in all these homes. You have such a big heart. Wow. I mean, the level of care that
uh,
you have for these girls and just the amount of love. I mean, goodness, your heart is about the same size as the nation of Zambia, I would say. I mean, goodness.
I don't know. And it's not like I'm in need of kids. I have 5 kids and 9 grandkids of my own. So
And all your kids at Faith Christian, my goodness, you're
yeah.
special
And
man.
then here's another trip when I went.
Cute.
And we just took, what I wanted to do was give them opportunity to have individual pictures and just do a photo shoot, a photo shoot. And so we went right there in the neighborhood there, right across the street from their home, and took pictures. And I love the jumping picture. It took about 10 tries to get that one shot.
That is too good. Oh my goodness. I love this.
We had a great time.
I love how they're all posing and they're so proud. You know, or they don't have mirrors there, or they didn't, you know, before coming to Tree of Life. It's just not something they're not used to seeing their faces and seeing what they look like. And so for you to go over there and take pictures of them that they can hold and keep and put in their Bibles or next to their beds. I mean, those are treasures. They're real treasures.
The card that they're holding that I brought is a big card that I had made, with all of our pictures on there, and for them to keep and have. And then I left. Man, I love doing that kind of a thing. Now, here's another thing that they done. I sent money over for them to have a day a dinner and a movie.
Oh.
Dressed up and went to I think it's the East Mall, is it?
There are a couple of East Park. Did they go to East Park?
That's what it is, East Park.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Fun.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Had dinner and then went to the movie and got all dressed up and nice. So I love keeping this group of girls together. And
you know what? They are going to be best friends for life. They're all going to be in each other's weddings. They're going to keep up with each other.
They are. Let's see what the next one. Okay, another time I went, we went to the East Park Mall together and had walked around. And then Ruth invited us, who isn't even in the picture because she was ushering, invited us to her church.
How special.
Rhema Life Church. You familiar, Rhema Life?
You know, I don't know Rhema Life, but I know Ruth really well. I've known Ruth since she was a little 8-year-old, and I've got video footage of her that you would just be blown away at. I mean,
wow.
I would go visit her over and over. She used to help care for her mother who had HIV. I mean, she was basically the primary caretaker for her mom, and we would bring her food and I would pray for her all the time. And I just remember, goodness, back in 2000 and I want to say it was 2005. Yeah. We taught her, she was at Camp Life singing, "Let There Be Light, Let There Be Light." And we were going around all over Tayenda Slum and just preaching the word of Jesus with Sweet Ruth. And she actually is friends with Lahima. She knew Lahima, my little girl that passed away and helped us start the Tree of Life Children's Village. And so Ruth has a very special place in my heart. I adore that girl.
That explains a lot about her because she is the caretaker for that group of girls.
I believe it. Yeah, because she was doing that when she was a child, you know.
She's like the mother for them. She does. Yes. I mean, she is the glue too as well. And let's see, I think this is the last one. Yes, this is the last one.
How fun.
This is when Naomi came to Texas. And I'm so grateful to you for you and the ladies that brought her on her first plane ride, on her first trip to Dubai, and seeing all that, and her first shopping experience. And we had a big group of people meet us at the airport, meet you at the airport, and received you guys. That was such a special day to me.
It was so, so special, you know, to get to take her shopping. I mean, I'm telling you, that was like such a treat for me. I mean, we were having so much fun. You know, I don't think she'd ever seen a store look like this. You know, I mean, maybe you're right. She had gone to East Park and seen that, but I think to
but
be in the middle of
blown away.
Dubai, I mean, it was
Dubai is
whoa.
totally different than East Park, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was quite the experience there, and we just had too much fun. I took her to Sephora and got her a little makeover done,
Oh,
and we got some jewelry from Claire's, and then went to H&M and got some new clothes, and I even bought some clothes that matched her so she'd feel special, so we had matching little
oh yeah,
sweaters and
yeah, yeah.
scarves and things like that. So yeah, it was really,
Love it.
really fun. We had a great time, and I know Sweet Naomi is so shy at times, and I've known her since she's a little girl, and so she felt real comfortable with me,
Good.
being there with her, and I just adore that
Yeah,
child that
she was
God has
nervous
given
at first. She was nervous prior to it, so I'm glad that you were there with her. And this is
me.
the bottom picture is us having dinner or breakfast right after. What was it? When did y'all come in the morning? Yes.
We did. We arrived at like 9
Yeah.
or so in the morning,
Yeah. So
and
we had
then
brunch or whatever it was right after that. Group of us took her there, and also there's Ernest graduating. I took Naomi and Garnet to the graduation ceremony, and we had a great time riding down. I love when they get together and they're able to talk and laugh
oh yeah,
and joke and just have a great time.
so special,
The
so
bottom picture
special.
is her at my school with my PE class. She's in there sitting on the floor, if you can see her
Oh
down
my
there.
goodness, how fun! I love that. That's so special. I bet the kids loved getting to meet her.
They did, and they were having PE going on, and so I'm sitting there, and she starts helping grab balls and stuff with them, and just start natural with
How
them.
fun. She is a natural.
Yeah. And the bottom picture is her at my wife's job at Delta. She works for Delta. So we went up and visited her, and she's got a chance to sit in her desk and put her headphones on.
Wow. Oh.
We just enjoy having her here, and she's doing such a good job. She's doing great in school. She is doing
Yes.
great her first year, and even with the online,
Yeah.
her mother there, Holly. No, not Holly.
Katie.
Katie Lee
Yeah.
is really just a special young lady, young
She
mother
is.
of 3 kids, but she's helping Naomi and just helping her to adjust, and I'm just so happy that it all
Well,
worked out.
and do you know there's a quick story behind Katie Lee and I? So the reason Katie Lee even came to Zambia was because I spoke to her 8th grade class when she was, in junior high. I had run into my old history teacher at a dinner one time, and she invited me to come speak at her current class. And I go and show up, and Katie Lee was just so moved by my talk that she decided she wanted to go to Africa. And she kept begging her mom. And over the course of a few years, her mom signed up for a Zambia trip. And when Katie Lee came to the meeting, she goes, "Mom, that's the girl. That's the girl. I want to be a missionary because she came to my class in 8th grade." And so anyway, we've just been friends, dear friends ever since then. Like God just knitted our hearts together. And so yeah.
Well,
so special.
I want to say thank you to you, Holly, for being with me today. It's been my pleasure. And in closing, I always honor my parents, Lee and Cree, and I encourage us all to unite and to just give somebody a smile.
Oh.
So with that, I say Zikomo. What does that mean?
Zikomo, that means thank you in the
Zambian.
Nyanja language.
Yes. So
Well,
I close with that every time. So I am so grateful for you. You have a great day, and thank you for joining me today.
How special, Herb. It was my privilege, my blessing, and Godspeed, my friend.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Zikomo.
Zikomo.
Hanging with her